Everyone, this is Odessa Film Festival online. We have a great guest today, and this is a terrific director, Agnieszka Holland. Her latest film, Şarlatan, is a closing film of Odessa Film Festival. You should see it. And hello, Agnieszka. Thank you very much for joining us.
Hello, hi.
So,
glad to be with you guys, even in such a strange way.
Yeah, such strange times. Actually, I wanted the first question I wanted to ask is, was it an inspirational time for you, or was it the time when you struggled as an artist? Can you talk about that?
You know, I went in quite soft and pretty interesting way through this period, and I cannot complain. I was in Paris, in France, promoting my previous movie, Mr. Jones, when the lockdown started. The cinema had been closed, so the premiere of the film didn't happen, even if we did a lot of avant-premieres and interviews. So I went to my country house, which is in France, in Brittany, and practically since there, I'm mostly there. For 4 months, I didn't move from this place, which I was always dreaming about, you know, to go to my country place and to stay without thinking that I have the very busy schedule and have to take the plane and go to US and after go to Asia and visit the festivals and promote the movies and, you know, and then prepare the next shoot. So somehow for me it was some kind of vacation. And certainly the time when I was able to think about what is important to me and what I have to do next. In this moment, I was preparing also the TV series, a pretty big one, the new TV series for Apple TV, which is supposed to shoot in Paris.
Okay.
And we've been advanced in these preparations when. And decided the first, you know, the platform decided to shoot it even with the restrictions made by the pandemics. But after they started to be afraid, and when the prospects of the fall became not so certain, they decided to stop the project. And I don't know if they will be shooting it one day or they just canceled it. Anyway, suddenly, and I supposed to work on this project till next May or June even, because I was supposed to direct and supervise some part of the shoot. And suddenly, you know, I realized that I don't have the plans. I don't have the project, you know.
Is it a good thing? Is it a good thing or is it a bad thing? Is it a good thing not having a plan, or is it a bad thing for you?
I think that it's a bad thing for the people who are on the beginning of their career, of their way, and to be interrupted for the longer time suddenly, you know, makes the future very scary and uncertain. For me, it is a good thing, I think, so far.
Oh, that's great.
Especially that my movies, which been stopped by the release of my movies, which been in different countries, which been stopped by the pandemic, became successful when the cinemas have been open, and Mr. Jones in France did great box office and very, very, very important critical response. As the same in US, they released it online, but on several platforms, but it had very good results and very good press, very good media. And Şarlatan in Czech Republic, where it premiered a month ago, made the best box office among all movies and made like 100,000 more viewers than The Tenant. So it was interesting because I didn't expect that the people attacked by the fear of the pandemics and of the economical crisis would like to watch such a gloomy, complex and not entertaining films, and finally they wanted to. So maybe somehow pandemic even helped the reception of those films, because maybe some people had enough to make good box office, wanted to deal with the important questions and complex questions. So far I cannot complain. But in the same time, the future is uncertain, and in the same time, the and politicians have been attacking my quiet, introvertical period by sending the shivers, by doing a lot of very dangerous and chaotic decisions, as well in my native Poland as in the US, and we know all the situation in Belarus. So I think that the world is in quite dangerous place, and any kind of the change and any kind of the explosion is possible.
Yeah, thank you. Congratulations for to the box office. This is really great that your two of your films have such a great success. We will, of course, talk about Mr. Jones, because it's a very important film for Ukraine, because this is a story of a Welsh journalist covering the Holodomor. But first, I want to talk about the latest film, Şarlatan. To our audience, I want to remind that this is a story of a herbal healer who gets from Czechoslovakia and who gets arrested, and then the story unfolds. This is such a fascinating character, and you should watch this film. But the first question that I have about the film is, you're coming back. You're coming back to the Soviet era. You're coming back to communist years. Why is that? I mean, why are you coming back? Why you keep coming back to that?
First, it's my experience. It means it was something I lived through, and something which creates some kind of the pattern for the present as well. And I think that the fact that we've been neglecting so long the analysis of these regimes and the crimes of Stalin and other communist leaders, I think somehow it didn't create the vaccine against this kind of the totalitarian regimes. And I feel the little part of the duty to come back to this period, and to show how relevant some mechanisms are to our today's dangers. Because we are not safe. We are not, we can be the subject to the new authoritarian regimes and new totalitarian regimes, which are taking the communist or Nazi experience as some kind of the model. And I think that it's why also those films, especially Mr. Jones, have been successful in this moment, because several people over the world are realizing that despite the time which passed, the humanity is not any wiser, and we are repeating in different circumstances and in different contexts the similar kind of the mistakes, and neglecting the incoming dangers till it's too late to do whatever. But also I think that it's in the time when we are now, when everything is happening very quickly, and it has some consistent of the liquid. The presence is very floating. To have some distance, to see the past which is not really the past, which is encrusted in the present as well. But to see it with some kind of the distance helps us to understand where we are today. So for me, the history is not really the history. The past is not really the past. It's not dead. It's not finished. We are living it in somehow, and the historical movies I'm doing have some kind of the actualization today.
I just want to talk a little bit about the main character, because he's such an enigma, this healer who can tell, looking at some person's urine, to tell what kind of disease this person has, and he's very closed, and I think every member of the audience thinks that he's a little bit maybe ashamed of himself. So how do you understand this character? What is he about?
Well, but you know what? It's because I'm promoting the movie in Poland now, and did a lot of interviews, and the journalists are asking about it, and I try to be a good pupil and to answer those questions. But in the same time, I think that, answering those questions, I'm acting against the reception of my movie, because it's not important what I think.
Okay.
We created this character together with the screenwriter and with the actors. And I was fascinated by this character because he is a mystery also to me. When I try to destroy him and put the pieces and analyze it and put some kind of the microscope and say it's because to find the causality and the real meaning of his acts, somehow I'm flatting my own film. Okay. So let's keep it as I'm giving some keys. We are giving some keys in the film. And the audience can accept those keys or not. They can find their own keys. I think that when I read the script for the first time, the main attraction was that it's very complex, that it has several layers and several subjects. For some people, it is in the first place, the story about the totalitarian oppression. For another, the story of the conformism, the citizen of the Eastern Central Europe in 20th century, which becomes the subject to different regimes and has to accommodate and to find his way to survive and survive well. For another, that is, the story of the man who has a great gift. And this great gift is the blast, but also it is some kind of the terrible burden, and what price we are paying for that. For some people, it's the story of the connection to the nature and how you can find the real strength in the nature. And in the same time, for some people, it is the story of the man who is denying his own nature and his identity, and for another people it's a complex love story. So
but he's so fascinating to watch. And I'm a fan of this film. And one of the things that he says actually is that having a choice is the hardest thing. So I agree with that, because nowadays when we see democracies falling down because people choosing something, choosing from very many options, they choose something wrong. So do you think that having a choice is the hardest thing we have?
Well, having the choice is a freedom. Freedom of choice means that I'm taking responsibility for my choice. What people are doing today, what they have the tendency to do, is because the reality becomes too complicated and too challenging for them and too dangerous somehow, and they are afraid for their securities, and they are afraid that the changes will be so global and so important that their way of life will be endangered. So they prefer not to choose, actually. They are choosing the people, the leaders, the populist leaders who are saying, okay, we know that you are not happy, but we have solution. We know that we are afraid, and you have to be afraid because the danger is terrible. And this danger is the other. It can be, whatever, the blacks, Jews, refugees, Germans. In Poland now, the authority found as the biggest danger to the humanity, LGBT people. But we will create the shelter for you. You will be safe, and we'll solve your problems. So the people are delegating their own responsibility and their own moral freedom or ethical freedom to the other who says, we'll do it instead of you. So yes, when Mikołajek says that is the biggest challenge of the world thing, it's to have a choice. He says having the choice means that I can pay for my choice. It means that I have the responsibility for the consequences, even also for other people. And when you don't have the choice, you don't have this kind of dilemma, and you can feel somehow maybe more happy.
Yeah, maybe we don't know that. No, we know that, but having a choice is not a good thing. But yeah, and
we don't know what is the illusion of the happiness, but it can last for quite a long time.
Yeah, sure. And the Soviet regime showed that for some time you can be happy not having any choice. One of the things about the main character, Mikołajek, is that in the beginning he doesn't know where his power for healing comes from. And what I wanted to ask you, this is a personal question, do you know where your power of directing comes from? What are your instincts about? Where do you take this power from?
Well, I think from similar sources as Mikołajek's, talents. It means it is the work, the knowledge, the intuition, and something which, some kind of the determination or need or urge to create something. And I'm not a genius, Mikołajek in his domain was a kind of genius because he was it was a lot of healers of his kind, but he was special and the most efficient and the most popular in his times, and had some spectacular results. I was doing some movies about geniuses, and I did about artistic geniuses, like about Ludwig van Beethoven, or about two French poets, Arthur Rimbaud and Paul Verlaine. And it was always the same question: what kind of the price you are paying for this such a heavy and such a wonderful gift, and what is the difference between the gift and the man who is carrying this gift? So Mikołajek somehow it's fitting into this kind of the characters. And because I'm not a genius, I'm quite talented and hardworking, courageous director. Courageous because I explore the things which I'm not safe in. I'm doing the movies which are the big challenge for myself, and where I'm totally uncertain if I will be able to carry it well. So it makes me maybe a bit special. But if not, I know plenty of more gifted filmmakers than I am.
Oh, you're too modest. You're too modest. But do you question your power sometimes?
My power under other people, or my power under the material?
Your power as a director, that you actually know what you want to do, and you know what you want to see, and you want people, behave this way, just this way you want.
Yes, I do know. I do know. It means I think I do know what I want to do and what I want to see. And sometimes my knowledge is a bit pretentious. Sometimes I'm overpowering my collaborators who can have better idea than mine. So the challenge I have with myself is to be not too authoritarian, to give enough of space to my closest collaborators, to let them, and especially to the actors, to let them to give something which I don't expect. It means I try not to animate them. I try to take advantage of another people's forces and talents. So it's why so interesting, this work. Why the shooting is such an interesting process to me. That it's not like the realization of some concept I have, but that is also to open up to the unknown, to let another people to come and to bring something very personal and very unique from their own vision and talents. So it makes it different, the work of the director as the work of the writer or painter or composer, which is very lonely work. And I am dealing with the big number of people, and they are the source of the new inspiration for me.
Well, you're working a lot. I mean, this years. I mean, you released 2 films in 2 years: Mr. Jones in 2019, Charlatan in 2020, and you just said that you were working on the new series by Apple TV. Why is that? I mean, is it the director's dream to have another project before she or he finishes the previous one?
Some directors feel safer like that, because to give the film to the world, it's like giving the birth of the child. You have a lot of emotion about this new baby, and sometimes it's crushed by the critical response or by the audience response. So when I was doing my first movie, sometimes it was so painful to me that I was totally depressed. And when you've been escaping somehow this kind of situation, that you've been in the middle of the next work, it was easier to overcome it. And some directors are certainly working in this way. With me, it's maybe not so consequent. The last 20 years of my work, I found some kind of the balance. It means even if the film I'm doing doesn't have the success I would like it to have, it doesn't crush me totally. I can rationalize it and survive it. But sometimes it's the concourse of the circumstances. What I knew for some time, that it is practically impossible in this work of the film economics to have one project in one time, because half of the projects will never come to life. And you are spending a lot of years trying to do something, and then it fall apart, and you are tired and empty, and you then can spend another 5 years before you will put together another project. So some people are working in this way. I probably am impatient, and I want to do more and more, and that is also my problem, my way of living. That it's a big part of my life. It's working. So from some moment I started to develop several projects, and then you don't know what will gonna happen. For example, I didn't believe, frankly, that the producers will finance Mr. Jones. I thought that it's such a difficult film to be financed at this level, which was necessary because it's quite complicated to shoot. That probably it will never gonna happen. So I took some series in this time, and Charlatan was already on the schedule somehow. And then Mr. Jones suddenly have been financed, and in 2 months they told me, we have the start date, we have to do it now, or we will have the problem to do it at all. And we have to push another, and suddenly the projects overlap, and starting to be in the same time, and I became somehow, the prisoner of the situation. If I had the choice, I would do one film after, at least 6 months of vacation, and after another and another. But you cannot really plan it completely because, it depends on many things.
Have you ever felt that you hit the glass ceiling, being the great female director? I mean, we talk a lot about this thing that female directors are getting overlooked, underrepresented, and the film industry is, doesn't take care of women professionals in cinema. So have you ever felt that you hit the glass ceiling somehow in any moment of your career?
Several times, yeah, for sure. That is the situation any female director knows. Even the most famous, like, I don't know, Jane Campion or Agnieszka Holland. You have less possibilities to finance your films. You have to be better, you have to be more convincing, you have to be more successful in order to have another next project financed. It is much more difficult to have bigger budget for your film, and it is quite difficult to go out from some kind of from the comfort zone of female films and children films and family films and romantic comedies and so on. For years, no woman didn't pass in Hollywood, for example, the level of some budget. For me, it's not so important because I don't want to do big budget movies, but it's I would like it to be my choice and not like some kind of the restriction. Also, the film critics are much more harsh with women films. I've seen it several times, and some bad critics become very personal. It is much easier to be personal than to be just, to analyze the movie, regardless who did it. And also festival selectors, the big festival selectors have been neglecting women's films, telling, that practically that they don't have like good choice enough, which is a bullshit, I think.
A bullshit,
and now,
of course.
And now it's changing. We see the change. The change is coming also with some kind of quotas and, partitions. And I think it's a good thing because, of course, the women and men has like same. They are not so completely different. They have a lot in common, but they have something different in physiological, in spiritual, and in life experience and in cultural experience. So their voice is slightly different. They have something to say from a little different point of view. And this point of view have been, underrepresented. When about 7% of the films and TV series have been directed and written by women, it means, and women are 51% of the humanity, it means that like over 40% of the humanity was voiceless, in such an important medium like audiovisual narration. And for the men, the women's point of view have been some kind of the terra incognita. If you don't hear this voice, you don't know that it exists, and you think that the reality is what you see. And suddenly somebody comes with a different experience and says, no, the reality is not only what you see, but also what I see, and also what the black person see, and the people from Africa or Asia see, and the homosexual sees, and and young person sees, and older person sees, and only this complexity of the voices makes the real statement about who we are as a humanity.
I think you're totally right, because movies cannot be only about white privileged men, white straight men of privilege. So yeah, we should have more voices, and maybe with this Academy Awards restrictions, regulations, they're going to be, I think, in 2025, right? They will have this new regulations that you should include women, you should include people of color, you should include LGBT community representatives. They should be the part of the film. So what do you think? Will it change anything? Will it change anything? This Academy Awards, American Academy Awards restrictions?
Well, yes, it means, it's pretty modest. It's going by the slow, they are speaking about 30%, for all those minorities and for this majority, because the women are practically majority. So they are all fit to 30%. Still 70% is expected to be fulfilled by the man, by the white man. But it is a good step. In Sweden, for example, the Swedish Film Institute is really realizing for the last few years the real parity, 50-50, and suddenly giving some kind of the advantage, financial advantage to the movies directed by women. And I was watching this year. A lot of movies have been made by women in Sweden, and maybe even too much for the parity. And they are very good movies. And the best Swedish movies actually of this year, you can see it in the lineup of European Film Academy, are directed by women, and those films are winning the festivals and being quite popular as well. So. If you open the door, so suddenly more people can enter this room, and I think it will be for the best. Of course, I don't want to last it forever. I think in the moment when this injustice will be balanced, we can forget those restrictions and go forward in totally free way. And the economics will change it also, because 2 years ago it was for the first time when I'm speaking about Hollywood, because Hollywood is somehow dictating the rules or inspiring the rules, especially economical rules. So for the first time, the movies where the women have been the lead characters made more money than the movies with the male main character. And before, for example, the male actors have been paid twice as much or even more than women actors. And the argument was that the audience wants to watch men. And now we see that the audience wants to watch more women. So so it will be just now that they have the same access to the money and to the space on the screen as the men before.
Well, we should talk a little bit about Mr. Jones. Of course, you know that this is a very important film for Ukraine, because this is the main topic is Holodomor, the man-made famine during Stalin years. And for the audience, I'm going to remind that this is the story of a Welsh journalist who comes to Soviet Russia. He wants to interview Stalin, and he meets the New York Times correspondent in Moscow, and then he goes to Ukraine, and then he sees what happens there. He sees the famine, he sees the death and desolated villages, and he comes back, and then nobody believes him. And well, actually, the question that I have about it is about the feedback that you got from the audience. I mean, you were traveling with this film around the world. You were in different festivals and you had many premieres. So what kind of feedback did you get from the audience? Do they know anything about that? Were they against the point of view that you show in the film? Because we know this is the part of Russian propaganda still, that there was no Holodomor, that there was no thing like that. So what kind of feedback did you get?
Well, the film was growing. You know, it premiered at the Berlin Film Festival a year ago. It means not the last one where Şarlatan had been shown, but the year before. And it started slowly, like to take the place first in Poland and then in Ukraine. It was called Cina Prawdy in Ukrainian.
Yeah, exactly.
And then it started to open in different countries, and every next month somehow made it stronger. You know, it was something which I don't understand completely. As I said, the premiere in France, which supposed to happen in March and happened by the end of June, after the lockdown was taken away, and the online premiere in US, which the position of this film on the platform had been really high. They, among all movies, they've been on position 5, 6, 7, which is incredible for this kind of the film. And we had very deep and very complex media response, especially in France, but in US also. The most important newspapers, the most important medias have been analyzing this film and analyzing the historical background and analyzing the relevance of the events to our days. And I think more and more the people felt that the film is relevant, and of course not in the description of the Holodomor, which is historical crime against humanity, and you can compare it to another, but what was the most relevant for them? It was the acceptance of the totalitarian regimes and the use of the fake news and the propaganda and the cowardice of the politicians, indifference of the global opinion, public opinion, and the corruption of the medias, and which all of that is leading to some kind of the authoritarian disaster. And the people, I think, read it as some kind of the warning and some kind of the revelation. So I think that this film played better role that I expected on the very beginning when it was released for the first time. And it was the good like reason to learn about the history of Stalin's famine and Ukrainian tragedy and the consequences of those of this famine and Holodomor on the future of the Ukraine and the future of this region altogether. And it was also the presentation of the courage of individual who is a messenger of the truth, who is the whistleblower in our terms of today, and also the corruption of the important journalists who are selling the truth for some kind of the personal comfort or some kinds of the ideological belief. So yeah, I'm happy because in some point I was a bit worried that the movie will just vanish and that that it will not have the impact, and actually it has. And the media like New York Times and New Yorker and Atlantics and Le Monde and Figaro, etc., have been discussing this film in the land.
But there is an ironic story, not a story, but an ironic moment about actually Mr. Jones. I read his report. He actually was meeting Hitler for one moment. He took a flight with him, and an ironic moment, an ironic part of this report is that he's actually describing him as kind of an intelligent person, or a person having an intelligent look. So we see that journalists, even the main character of this film, he was thinking that that Hitler is worth something, that you could look up to him, So, what does it tell us? What does it tell us?
Well, but he felt, and in his article about Hitler, about this, he felt very well what are the Hitler's ambitions and what is the real danger for Europe and for the world. It was the sentence in his article. He said, "If this plane will crash, the history of Europe maybe will be different," which
was
is
true.
Truth. And yeah, he was quite clairvoyant for such a young man in analyzing the agenda, Hitler's agenda. But yeah, he found him intelligent and even charming, which probably Hitler was. If he wasn't, he would be not like seducing such a intelligent, and developed nation like Germans and also other. And Stalin was charming as well. He, seduced a lot of people. And even not very long time ago, when we've been preparing Mr. Jones, I read the survey made in Russia. When on the question who was the biggest leader in the history of Russia, the Stalin won. So yeah, those bad guys, those criminals, they are not, the monster with the blood on the teeth. They are showing you some kind of the, agenda and some kind of the utopia which can seduce you. Unfortunately, it's why they are dangerous as well. Today's are not so original because when I see, for example, Donald Trump or Putin, I have impression that I see some kind of the recycling of the ideas and that they are not coming with the new original idea, which could be terrible and murderous, but has some charm of the new idea. We don't have the new ideas now. We are fooling the people with the old ideas, which already shown how dangerous they are. But anyway, yeah, the reality is not black and white. It always has some ambiguous qualities, and it's why we have to be careful when analyzing and judging.
Yeah, you already told that you're a courageous director, and we know that actually you made 2 films on Holocaust. It's Europe, and In the Darkness. And you already said that you like maybe to look into the darkness, not to feel very safe working on the new project. But why did you choose such a hard topic as Holodomor? Why was it your choice?
Well, I didn't want to, frankly, Okay. I didn't want to. After those 3 movies speaking about Holocaust, I said that I spent enough of times in the, in the ghettos and concentration camps and in the oppression so deep and so tragic, especially that it's my heritage somehow, the part of my family died in Holocaust, that I don't want to do it anymore. It was like probably 7 years of my life, etc., etc. And I started to receive a lot of projects exactly dealing with those kind of human disasters. And so for the producers or writers, I became some kind of the expert. So they've been sending me the projects about the massacre in Rwanda and about Kampuchea and about Armenian genocide, and it means Armenian genocide in Turkey and so on and so on. And I felt that I have to read those scripts because they've been the fruit of the research and sometimes talent, but mostly I try to avoid it. It means I didn't want to do it anymore, and they've been not strong enough to force me to do it. And I had similar reaction when I read Mr. Jones, but it was 2 things which I think pushed me or forced me or urged me to do it. First, that I told to myself that it is totally unjust that the world who knows pretty well Hitler's crimes forgot and forgave Stalin's crimes, and that the victims of those crimes remained unknown and voiceless and nameless. And that it's not bad only for the justice or for those victims, but also it is bad for our present and our future. So that was one reason. And another reason was, and I was thinking that maybe I can help to bring it to the people to some extent, of course. And another reason was that exactly I found that this point of view on the story, to showing the role of the propaganda and world media, is very relevant with our time, and is very relevant also for Ukrainian presence, especially after Maidan and during the war in the east of Ukraine. Because the world reactions are not so very different. We see it now with the Belarus and the world reactions to what's going on in Belarus. Despite the courage of Belarusian society, especially women. So yeah, I think we have to shake, this kind of the indifference, and because in some point it will come and will take us also. It will not stay behind the border. It will come to Europe, to Western Europe. It is already somehow in the US, in America. We have to fight this monster.
Well, as a Ukrainian, I want to thank you for this film, but let's talk lighter things, a little lighter. What do you regard as a success of the film? Because you said that sometimes your films don't get the success that you wanted them to have. So what do you regard as a successful film?
Well, the success is of course, money are important. Of course, the critical response is important. Some prizes are important, even if I'm not considering the prizes as so important, but they are helping the film to find some kind of the claim. But what really matters is I feel that the film entered some conscience of the people, if it exists. If it's many films we are doing in the world, thousands of films, and only few of them are like touching, people's hearts and minds. So if it happens even on smaller level, I feel happy. When it happens on the wider level, I feel very happy.
Okay, I know that actually this evening you got the Lifetime Achievement Award from FIPRC, and what does it mean for you, the Lifetime Achievement Award, the awards? How do they change the way you look at yourself, or maybe you look at your career, or you look at the work you do? Can you tell about that?
Well, FIPRC is like important body of people, and they're its critic prize. And the very first important prize I got, it was the FIPRC prize of Cannes Film Festival with my future debut, Provincial Actors. And it was something extremely important to me. So since this moment, I'm grateful to this group of people, film critics who are traveling from festival to festival and who try to find the justice for the movies, which sometimes are not, not like the most spotted by the light. So it is some kind of of the arch that I started with this, and I hope I'm not finishing yet my creative life, but. Anyway, it came to the point when they are saying to me, okay, what you did is for us very important and important enough to give you this honorary, platinum, I think, prize. But in the same time, it doesn't change the way I see myself, of course. It means one is grateful for the recognition, and one is grateful for the respect and and even sometimes admiration, but in the same time, the most important is what you feel yourself about what you did, and if you are in sync with your own inner judge.
Do you think film festivals actually will come back? We see that we had Venice Film Festival we had it in this pandemic times, but Cannes Film Festival was cancelled. Lots of festivals got online. Odessa Film Festival is online actually. So what do you feel about it? Okay, actually the question is not will they come back, but why are they important? Why is it important for them to come back?
You know, I think that the meeting and exchange is important. And also some festivity. It's why, you know, festival online is only the pale version of the festival, because the films are very important, the most important. But what is even more important at the festivals is to discuss about it, you know, and to see other people from different parts of the world, and to drink, and to, you know, and to visit the places you've been not before, together with the people who suddenly are like your new friends. So, you know, I think we need those festivals because they are real. They are real places of exchange and comparison. And I'm not even thinking the jury prizes, because the jury always some kind of the politics, but, you know, exactly the audience, which is saying, oh, this film I love, that is the most important, and others say, no, it's a bullshit, that's a kitsch, look at this one, and so on and so on. You know, it makes the cinema alive. So I hope it will come back in the full form. But what the pandemic taught us is that we don't know anything about the future, you know, which is the truth about the existence of the man. You know, no one knows if you will be alive next day. But here is the global experience and global discovery that we really cannot plan.
Let's try to predict the future. Do you think the pandemic will change the way we show, the directors show the people in the films? I mean, you know, shaking hands, kissing each other on the cheek, you know, will it change because of the pandemic?
But in some countries, those changes of the behavior, in the countries which have been more touched by this pandemic, you see the change. But in other countries, you know, the people are not like changing their behavior, which actually I find sometimes quite stupid. And, you know, and probably they will forget very, very quickly if the situation will end in, you know, some month or 1 year or something. I think it will, the shock will stay with us for a while, this change. But after, the people will forget, and they will go somehow back to normal. But something deeper can change, and it will take some time. This change can be very dangerous because, you know, the experience of other pandemics was that after the pandemic is something, when the crisis comes, because the crisis is inevitable after this kind of the lockdown, global lockdown, the authoritarian regimes are coming to power much easier than before, and that the people are more afraid of the future, and they want exactly something we've been discussing at the beginning of our meeting. So mostly the period after pandemics, it's not very good period for the freedom and democracy. But maybe this time it will be different. Maybe the new generation of the kids who are seeing the real dangers of the future, the climate catastrophe, and so they will refuse this, you know, this old medicine of fear and restrictions, and maybe they will come with the new way how to deal with the challenges. That is, you know, like the optimistic idea, and it's not very probable. The more probable is this bleak screenplay, but why not?
Okay. So you don't think that shaking hands in the film will seem anachronistic? You know, oh no, this is from another era. No. It's not truthful. It's not plausible at all.
Well, you know, when I'm coming here, for example, I was going from city to city in Czech Republic, in Slovakia, and then in Poland for Szarlatan, and everybody wanted to shake the hands. I was the one who was showing my, you know, my locket. Yeah, I think that the people are not so easy to be scared and to change everything. But it's some bigger change which is going on for a while, and which is deeper than only, the reaction to the pandemic danger. It is to live more and more, and the new generations are living more and more in the virtual world, when the communication is passing through the screens, and when the personal connection and physical connection seems not necessary, and then can change a lot. And we can see it already, we can see it already. Before pandemic, it was very visible, and now is the danger that pandemic, with with the schools which are locked, and and the communication only through the like Zoom, Skypes, or whatever, will form this generation in some deeper way, and they will lose this need to interact with the real person. So if it will happen, it will be very sad, to me at least.
We actually started with this topic, and you said what you were doing and how you felt during the lockdown. And I wanted to seem clever and to quote the essay by Olga Tokarczuk, the Polish writer. She's a Nobel Prize winner, and actually you adapted her novel Spore, and she said that for her it was the great time to to take a break, to pause, to breathe. Yeah. So my question is to you: what did you miss during the lockdown? You said that for the month it was kind of a vacation, but what did you miss the most during the lockdown?
I don't think I missed so much. I've been in the nature, and I enjoyed it. I had most of the time I had few people around of me, but I had some people. Sometimes I've been totally alone, and this loneliness was not hard for me. What I missed, it was the influence. I don't know how to express it. I was afraid that my thoughts are not strong enough to change the flow, which I know in generally without pandemic, that my thoughts and my will is not strong enough to stop the flow. But when I am doing the action, physical action, speaking to the people, speaking to the crowds, discussing with plotting something, I have at least the illusion that I'm moving forward a bit, the world. What I was afraid of, that this kind of the quiet, waiting on what will happen, is closing me in some kind of the autism, that I'm losing the need even to communicate. And for first moment, when I've been in Brittany, first 2-3 months even, the weather was incredibly beautiful. The summer came already by the end of March, and everything was like blooming. And I had the impression that I'm inside of the film Melancholia by Lars von Trier, sitting in this beautiful bucolic place and waiting for some disaster to come.
Well, I'm sure that no disaster will come. We have to hope for that. Thank you very much for this talk. Ladies and gentlemen, great film director Agnieszka Holland was with us. Her latest film, Šarlatan, is a closing film of Odessa Film Festival. Thank you very much again. We're waiting for your new projects, and we're waiting for this pandemic to go away and to start our life again, maybe wiser, maybe a little wiser. Thank you very much.
Thank you guys so much. It was great talking to you, and thank you everybody, and good luck. Take care of yourself. Be healthy.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Thank you. Okay.